It is a slugfest between two high-powered offenses here in Week 6 as the Baltimore Ravens will take on the Washington Commanders here in Week 6. Welcome into the Commanders Report. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and today we're going to be previewing Washington's Week 6 matchup versus the Baltimore Ravens. But before we get into it, you guys know our producer here, Joey Peterson. He is also the host of our Ravens channel, and he has challenged us here at the Commanders Report to a like battle on our preview videos this week. So Joey already put out his preview video on his Ravens channel, and it got 678 likes on that video. Well, I told him I think we can beat that, all right? So if you want to show Joey who the better channel is right now and which fan base is better, make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon at the top of the show to show the Ravens rundown who's boss. Okay, let's get into this awesome matchup heading into the week, man. I'm so excited to see who's going to be able to come out on top in what I think this might be the most exciting matchup in the National Football League anywhere here in Week 6. You got the 4-1 Washington Commanders traveling to M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore to take on a red-hot Ravens team, which has won 3 games in a row. So let's start here with what you can expect from the Baltimore Ravens schematically. Their head coach, John Harbaugh, is the second longest tenured head coach in the National Football League today. 163 wins to 101 losses throughout his career as the Ravens head man. The offensive scheme that you're going to see is a modern pro spread offense helmed by Todd Monken. They like to really spread things out. They like to give Lamar Jackson space, and they like to give him answers pre-snap. It's very similar to a college-style offense mixed in with some Andy Reid kind of spread concepts that he's put into the pro game. Very creative offense, and Todd Monken does a really good job at keeping Lamar Jackson involved in the run game as well. And then on defense, they're going to run the same system that they've run here over the last 2 years, the same system that Mike McDonald, their former defensive coordinator, now the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, took to Seattle. Now Zach Orr, who was an assistant under McDonald last year, he is now the defensive coordinator. Now we'll talk about the Baltimore Ravens defense and why it's taken a step back here in just a second. But first, let's talk about the results of the Baltimore Ravens to this point in their season. They lost their first 2 games. Of course, the Isaiah Likely game, the toe tap that was not, hit the white in week 1, 27-20 loss on the Thursday Night Football opener there in week 1. Then they lost to Las Vegas at home in kind of a crazy upset there where Las Vegas got their only win of the season. Or was it their only win? No, they won. I think they have another win this season. I think they're 2-3, but they lost to Las Vegas. That's not a good loss. But then over this last 3-game stretch here, Dallas, Buffalo, Cincinnati, all 3 wins, all 3 times. The offense has looked unbelievable. Derrick Henry has really gotten going. Lamar Jackson is looking like the MVP that we know him to be, and he's going to be the headliner of their offensive pieces in this football game, okay? He is definitely an MVP for a reason. We'll go into his scouting report later in today's preview, but then some other key offensive pieces. Obviously, Derrick Henry just wears down opposing defenses. The Commanders are going to have to be ready for that. Justice Hill, their number 2 running back, is very good out of the backfield as a receiver. Then you got Zay Flowers, their number 1 wideout. He's very good at getting open. We'll talk about him a little bit later in the show. And then Isaiah Likely has kind of taken over Mark Andrews' role in this offense. And then also keep your eye out on Charlie Kolar, their number 2 or number 3, whatever you guys want to call it. Their tight ends are very good in this offense, and they like to use them a lot. Now you look at the trends here when it comes to the Ravens offense versus the Commanders defense. Obviously, the Ravens have the advantage here in every single category. Now, the Commanders defense has played better as of late, but the Ravens offense are first, second, or third in just about every single category other than turnovers, and they're still ranking in the top 10 in that category as well. So they protect the football, they score in the red zone, they convert on third downs, they're scoring points at a high clip. Like, this Ravens offense has been excellent to start this season. Lamar Jackson has looked really, really good. And you look at the per-game trends for how many points the Ravens have been scoring and how many points the Commanders defense has been giving up. And right now it's 29.4 to 23. So you can probably expect around 26 points scored for the Baltimore Ravens if you believe the trends, okay? So based on everything that these 2 offenses have done, you can probably expect the Ravens to be somewhere in the mid-20s in terms of where they're at in terms of offensive production this week. However, I will say, okay, take that with a grain of salt, because Washington's defense has been a lot better, especially these last 2 weeks. Now, obviously, when you go up against the Arizona Cardinals and the Cleveland Browns' offensive lines, which have not been good to this point in the season, It can be easier to generate a pass rush, which has covered up some of the warts in the secondary. We'll see how the Baltimore Ravens offensive line can hold up against Washington's pass rush. But Washington's defense has played better lately, so maybe they can hold Baltimore to a little bit lower scoring number. But now we move to the defensive side of the ball, and Kyle Hamilton is their chess piece that they like to move all over the place, man. He is an absolute Swiss Army knife. You really have to know where he's at on the field at all times. And Justin Madubuike, they just signed him to a massive, massive contract this offseason. He is a game changer in the interior of their defensive line. Marlon Humphrey is a really good press man corner, and Kyle Van Noy has been awesome on their edge. This defense really allows their edge rushers and really elevates their edge rushers. If you remember, Jadeveon Clowney had a career year in this defense just last season, and Odafe Owe is a very fast and twitchy kind of speed rusher on the edge that has had a very good season to this point as well. So now you take a look at the trends for the Commanders offense versus the Ravens defense. You guys will notice that this Ravens defense isn't performing nearly as well as they were last year when they had arguably the best defense in football, and the Commanders offense is performing just as well, if not better, than what the Ravens offense has been able to do. So you got two of the best offenses in football going up against each other here, and then two defenses that are, let's just call it, below average through the first 5 weeks of the 2024 NFL season. So you can certainly expect a shootout of sorts here. You can certainly expect the Commanders to light up the scoreboard once again this week, because this Ravens defense might be a little bit overrated. And the per-game trends here, 31 points for the Commanders offense. So the only offense in football averaging over 30 points a game at this point. And the Ravens defense has given up 25.2 points per game, which is much higher than what it was last year. So you can definitely project that the Commanders get 28 points in this football game if we take the differential between those two differentials and we average that out. And the trends predict here that the Commanders are actually going to come out on top in this football game. Now, the margin of error, adjusting for home field advantage, is 3 points. So this is within the margin of error. The trends would certainly predict that this game's going to go right down to the wire, but it would predict that the Commanders win a close one, 28-26. Now, coming up here on the show, keys to victory versus the Ravens. I got 6 things schematically or situationally here or matchup-wise that the Commanders need to do to win this football game. Then I have my full scouting report on Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson. And then, of course, my Week 6 score prediction. Can't wait to share that with you guys here on today's edition of the Commanders Report Preview. But before we get into the rest of today's preview, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Game Time, which is the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for the sports, music, comedy, and theater in your area. And guys, we all know that experiencing a sporting event, especially a football game live, is unlike anything you can get from watching the game on your couch. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And what I love about using the Game Time app, guys, is you get the lowest price guarantee on any ticket to any event, all-in pricings right up front, transparent pricing so you don't get slapped with crazy fees at checkout, and then also flash deals so you can get even cheaper tickets the closer you wait to game time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS. That's one word, all caps, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. First key to victory for the Washington Commanders this week is to keep Lamar in the bucket. What do I mean by the bucket? That's the pocket, all right? Because if you got a quarterback that can leak outside that bucket, you don't want that bucket to leak, all right? Plain and simple, you want to keep him in there so you can contain this offense. If you let Lamar Jackson get outside the pocket, man, he is absolutely special, not only with his legs, but also with his arm. He's one of the best out-of-structure playmakers in the National Football League. And if you want Lamar to beat you, you want him to beat you from the pocket. Now, the cons are blitz recognition, but there's not many cons if I'm being honest with you, man. He's a very underrated pocket passer. He's pretty good at mental processing. He's got a strong arm. He is accurate with the football. He's got very clean throwing mechanics. This guy might be one of the more underrated pure passers in the National Football League, which is crazy because he is a 2-time NFL MVP, but he does pair that with a super, super electric rushing ability, incredible quick twitch. He's got great long speed as well. He's a top 3 NFL quarterback in football right now, bar none. He's right up there with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion, among the league's best players. and he's an offensive weapon that the Ravens definitely take advantage of. And if you're the Washington Commanders and you want to beat this Ravens offense this week, you got to make him beat you from the pocket, man. You got to get after him. You got to put him on the ground. You got to get sacks on him. And the best way to do that is to send cover zero blitz. Don't be afraid to send cover zero blitz to Lamar Jackson, okay? And the reason why I say that is because in past games, Lamar Jackson has had his worst games of his career when a defense is willing to send the blitz against him, all right? If there's anything that Lamar Jackson struggles with, it's blitz recognition and then recognizing where to put the football when he is hot. So if you give him time, if you give him a rushing lane, if you allow him to get outside the pocket, he can beat you in a whole lot of different ways. But if you put a bunch of pressure on him, you don't give him much time to think to get rid of the football, that's where Lamar Jackson can potentially falter and make big mistakes. If I'm Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr., I'm making cover zero blitz a big part of the game plan this week. But obviously you can't just run cover zero. You got to run other stuff. But whenever I need a big stop against this Ravens defense, or offense, I should say, I'm going to be sending that all-out pressure. Then when it comes to King Henry here, it's going to be easier said than done. King Henry is just an unstoppable force of nature at times, but you got to put another guy in the box. You got to go single high coverages, so that means you're going to be playing a lot of cover three. And if you're going to go man, you're probably going to go cover one. Of all these, cover one whole and cover one cross is probably the main man coverages they'll call, and then they'll probably go cover three in terms of their zone calls. The thing about facing a team like the Baltimore Ravens is because they have such a dynamic duo in terms of rushing the football in Lamar Jackson and then Derrick Henry, it's so hard to stop this run game, man. So it really does force you to put your strong safety, in the Commanders' case, that is Jeremy Chin, into the box, and you got to do a good job up front. Linebackers need to fill their run fits, and then you got to finish tackles. It's very, very difficult to stop the Ravens' rushing attack, but it's definitely a key to victory if the Washington Commanders want to come away with the dub. Then we get to another very big piece of this Baltimore Ravens offense, and that is Zay Flowers. And the reason why he's going to be such a big piece for the Commanders to stop in this one is because I think Flowers is a matchup problem for the Washington Commanders in terms of their secondary, right? Benjamin St-Juste is their number one corner here in Washington right now, but he's a bigger guy. He's not very shifty. He's better against the bigger type of receivers where he can press jam and do all these different things, but Zay is so shifty where I'm just not sure if that's a very good matchup for him. Emmanuel Forbes, I don't trust him in coverage against such a great route runner like Zay Flowers. But then Mike Sainristil, who's playing mostly in the slot, and that's where he should play most weeks. Honestly, you can make an argument that he is the best option to go up against Zay Flowers, even if he's on the outside this weekend. Now, we've seen Sainristil get cooked by guys like Jamar Chase, and, the long speed is definitely in question for a guy like Sainristil, and maybe Zay Flowers is just too fast for Mikey. And in that case, you probably turn to Noah Igbenogany as maybe your best true cover corner to go up against Zay Flowers. But as I'm looking at this situation right now, guys, I think Zay Flowers could potentially be a big problem for the Washington Commanders defense, especially if they can't get to Lamar Jackson. Then we get to the offensive side of the ball here. I think the big key to victory for Washington offensively, because I think that they're going to be able to have success, is it's going to come down to Jayden Daniels. If he has another good week, I expect this Washington Commanders offense to score 30-plus points yet again. But the thing is, this defense and this scheme is probably something he hasn't really seen before, man. He's going to see a lot of exotic coverages, blitz packages, simulated pressures. They're going to throw a lot of exotic stuff his way. And it's not like he hasn't seen that in the NFL yet. There's certain teams that we have faced so far that have thrown in some exotic stuff, but not at this level. So he's got to handle the heat. But the thing is about a team that disguises is that they're very weak in certain points, and they can be exploited if you have a good post-snap processor at quarterback. To this point, Jayden Daniels has done a really good job picking apart those exotic coverages when other teams have run it. So I don't have too many concerns, but it is a key to victory for Washington heading into this one. Then if the game is close, and I actually do think this game is going to be very close, it's going to be a shootout, maybe one of the better games to watch of this entire 2024 season anywhere in the league. Got to make the play late, whether that's a big touchdown pass or run from Jayden Daniels, whether that's a turnover in the fourth quarter, whether that's a sack fumble sending cover zero blitz on Lamar Jackson. You have to be able to make that big play in the fourth quarter. And the team that does that, I think, is going to win this football game. And make no mistake, this one's going to be a battle. All right, these are two offenses that are super high-flying. These are the two of arguably the best quarterbacks in football, two of the best offenses in football, going up against a couple of defenses here where, let's put it, fairly here, they're below average in terms of NFL standards, at least to start this season. So I'm looking at this matchup here. I think there's going to be a lot of scoring. It might even be more than what I'm projecting. I'm going to put it within the margin of error, just like the trends would predict, but I'm actually going to go with the Ravens. I can already see the people in the chat. Jack, you're once again picking us to lose. And listen, man, if you want to look at it that way, yeah, I'm picking them to lose. But I think that the Washington Commanders legitimately have a shot to win. I'm going to give the Ravens the slight edge because they're home. Lamar Jackson has more experience. And I do think that the Baltimore Ravens, on all levels of their defense, is slightly more talented than what Washington has to offer right now. So I am going to go 31-31 or 33-31. Ravens win. However, I'm putting it in the margin of error for a reason. I think the Commanders could absolutely come out of this with the victory. I'm loving what Dan Quinn is doing. I'm loving what Cliff Kingsbury's doing on offense. I love what I'm seeing from Jayden Daniels. And I'll say this right now, guys. If Jayden Daniels can go into M&T Bank Stadium and take down the league's MVP in Lamar Jackson and outduel him in what I expect to be a big-time shootout, there's nothing left for this team to prove, all right? I think they're going to be legit title contenders this year, and if you get to 5-1, man, nothing is going to be able to stop this Washington Commanders train from rolling to the postseason, in my opinion. So that's your turn. Let me know down there in the comment section. Predict the score of Washington versus Baltimore for Week 6 down there in the comment section. I got 33-31 Baltimore. If you want to call me an idiot, let me know down there in the comment section. But hey, I will say this. Every time I predicted the Commanders to lose in the last 4 weeks, they have won, and they have won convincingly. So hopefully me being an idiot here leads to a Commanders victory. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. I really do appreciate all of your guys' support. I will talk to you guys later. Tomorrow we actually have Commanders Report a live show starting at 5 p.m. Eastern time. So if you want to join us to talk about this matchup, talk about the latest Commanders news and rumors of the day, make sure you guys click that subscribe button right now and join us for Commanders Report live tomorrow afternoon.